Hey guys, Avav here. In this video, I wanted to talk about something involving the PlayStation 5. So, when the PlayStation 5 was first announced, I had a lot of ideas about it, and I kind of posted a video about it. One of the main things was it having backwards compatibility, which it only has for the PlayStation 4. But once it came out, one major problem I kept suffering from was the internal storage. So it cannot read PlayStation 5 games from an external hard drive. So every game has to be installed to the internal hard drive, and it can't read things straight off the disc because the disc reader just isn't fast enough. With PS5 games being the size that they are, I quickly ran out of storage. I put all my PS4 games on an external drive, but still the PS5 games were just taking up way too much space. And I've actually had some PS5 games that I wanted to record my first impressions of for YouTube that I haven't played for months because I can't install anymore without taking out games that I'm currently playing. So finally, after 2 years, or however long it's been since PlayStation 5 has come out, I managed to upgrade the internal storage. All you need is a compatible SSD, and you just pop off the top panel and put in the card and screw it in. It's not too difficult if you know what you're doing. So I didn't want to have to hook up my capture card to show you guys this. I'm just going to record it on my camera here. If I go down to storage now, it shows the M2 SSD storage, and now copy my PlayStation 5 games to the additional storage, and it saves so much more space. I got a 2 terabyte, and it's this Chinese, I think, aftermarket SSD that's meant for laptops, but it came with everything you need, and I had to install the heat sink, which is essentially just a sticker you put over it, and then stick like a metal casing to the other side of it. Some people were writing reviews on Amazon that the heatsink doesn't look like it's very great, but I haven't seen too many people saying that it's failing. And the good thing about this, even if it did fail, it has a 3-year warranty. Even if it did fail after a couple years, it wouldn't impact where you are in the games. So like, say I had 2 terabytes worth of games installed on here, it still puts all the save data into your console storage, your internal storage. So if for whatever reason, whichever SSD you install, if something went wrong with it, you wouldn't lose your place in the games. You would just have to reinstall them with a new SSD or to the console's internal storage. So my question is, why didn't it come with this, considering how limited we are on storage? Like, if I were to keep my PS4 games on here, it would almost be useless. Call of Duty games are taking up 200 gigabytes a piece. Having about 800 gigabytes of free storage is going to last you like 3 to 4 games. It would have been nice if the PlayStation 5 came out with more storage, but maybe that was to keep costs down because these things are so expensive already. It's starting to feel like just PC gaming, considering with all PC components, and it's getting up there in prices nowadays. But the technology is pretty amazing. I was able to copy over 160 gigabytes in like less than 30 seconds, which blows my mind. I've been working on PS3s for the last several months, and to be able to transfer that much data in that short time just seemed like a miracle. Now, the other thing I did with my PlayStation 5 is based on the DualSense controller. I didn't like how the DualSense controller was when it came out. It didn't feel PlayStation-y enough, and even if I could overlook the ergonomics feeling different, it just didn't look like a PlayStation controller. So one of the first things I did was bought the black controller and then modded it to have the colored buttons. And sadly, there's like no way to change this internal button without causing a mess. So this is just a vinyl sticker right now. But I think it looks pretty good, and I don't know why they didn't come out like this. Another thing that I thought every console would add that they didn't was rear touch buttons. When I got my Switch, I got a Pro controller for it, and it had rear touch buttons, and I thought everyone was kind of going that way. You know, that they're out of the way, and it adds additional buttons for fingers that you're not using. And these new consoles were rolling out, and none of them added that to their controllers. And I'm seeing third-party companies, and I think now there's a like DualSense Pro or something along those lines that have rear buttons, but they cost almost $200, which is pretty much half the price of the console. That's a lot of money for a controller. And I don't see how two buttons can add that much cost to a controller. I would have preferred the two buttons on the back of the controller came default and just not have some of the more expensive features like having a heat sensitive touchpad in the middle. I know the PS4 introduced that, and a built-in microphone. These things cost money or add in additional costs. I don't think we use them very often, but using additional buttons would be, you know, utilized all the time, especially if they were treated as independent buttons, like not just something you can remap other buttons to, or developers could implement these into a new way we play games. But regardless, they didn't have them, so I went on Amazon and couldn't afford one of these $200 controllers, but at the moment I could afford essentially a mod. So I installed these rear controller or rear buttons that can be mapped to L1, R1, and the face buttons. I didn't bother doing the L3, R3, L2, and R2 because didn't think I would need that in most situations, and it required soldering, which I didn't want to have to deal with. These run about $40, and it includes a modded back because you also have to screw it into the back, so it comes with a whole new back housing. This one has rubber grips, which is also pretty cool. And I was terrified doing this because each time you take this apart, there's a chance of like cracking this front plate, and there's so many like electrical tape, I forget what it's called, but tape that has like wires in it that I'm terrified of breaking. The microphone is something that's super sensitive, but each time I managed to do it, and now I finally have the PlayStation 5 controller the way I would have wanted it. So I think I'm planning to map this to circle if I'm playing Apex, so I can finally duck without removing my thumb from the right analog stick. L1 and R1 in Fortnite, so I can switch through weapons without having to move any of my other fingers. But I felt like a lot of people wanted their PlayStation 5 controllers to look like this, so I thought I'd just share what I did to mine, because I think some people might find it interesting. I'm going to be using this whenever I take my gameplay for YouTube seriously. Most of the time it's pretty relaxed, but if I'm doing anything competitive, I'll probably be using this. The only thing I have to add about PlayStation 5 controllers is that this right R2 seems to go bad very easily on them. It hasn't happened to this one yet, but I'm just terrified of that happening. Anyways, this was just a quick video showing some of the things you can do to your PlayStation 5 and some things that I personally feel are necessary. I think if they move on to a more affordable version of the PlayStation 5 or a slim, they should really just amp up the storage and maybe even come out with a DualSense 2. I know on the PlayStation 1 it originally didn't have analog sticks, so maybe they could make a more affordable DualSense with rear buttons instead of the new $200 premium version. Anyways, I'll be playing some Call of Duty soon because you guys seem to really like it when I play Call of Duty, so I'll see you in those future videos along with some more PlayStation 5 gameplay in the future since I've finally got that storage situation worked out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.